Well, good day. So, for today's video, we're going to talk about the first cartoon appearances of two important women in Garfield's life. I'm talking about his veterinarian and his mom. So, alright, let's go.
Yeah. So, we start off in the home of John Arbuckle, a home that his two pets, Garfield and Odie, have completely destroyed. Well, at least, the main room anyway. And in a surprise show of some backbone, John gets furious. Like, my God, right? Like, this cannot be normal behavior for a cat. Sure, Garfield kind of goes off the deep end once in a while, but never to this extent. So John decides to get Garfield checked out at the vet. And the vet, eh? Oh my God! Nothing can be worse for a cat than going to the vet. Well, maybe other than falling out of the car onto open traffic on the way to the vet, that might be worse. And that is exactly what happened to Garfield. So after a quick game of real-life Frogger, Garfield is able to get off the road and onto the sidewalk, where his ego kicks in and he starts to believe that he could become the cat king of the streets. And why not, right? He's tough, well, kind of. He's resourceful, well, kind of. He can get any lady cat to be his queen. Well, no, not exactly. They all say no. Maybe this is gonna be a lot tougher for Garfield than he realizes. Meanwhile, John is getting really concerned with Garfield being missing. And really, how did he not know that Garfield fell out the window, right? He was interacting with Garfield the whole time and all of a sudden Garfield's quiet? Yeah, something would be up if Garfield suddenly became quiet. So John calls Garfield's veterinarian, Dr. Wilson, to see if someone hopefully maybe found Garfield and brought him to the vet, just for safety reasons and stuff. But sadly, as Dr. Wilson states, nay, no fat cat here. Later, back on the streets, well, it's cold out, it's dark out, and Garfield is miserable. And even more miserable because he is starting to get hungry. Which, well, I guess that's just a natural state for Garfield, right? He should be used to that by now. But I digress. As Garfield is looking for food in and around a garbage bin, he finds out that he is on the territory of another cat. Not good. Not good. Garfield, the lazy house cat, going up against a seasoned street cat? Huh? So this means only one thing. It's time for one of those classic cat fights. Those fights where the cats just kind of posture, jump around, make a whole bunch of noises without ever actually taking a swing at one another. Yeah, those cat fights. And surprisingly enough, man, with all this jumping around and stuff, Garfield actually wins! If I didn't see it, I would never believe it. So now, being completely overconfident, Garfield chases the other cat and he... Oh, crap. Oh no, Garfield. Oh. Turns out this cat has an entire gang of street cats waiting for Garfield, as they outnumber him at least 30-1. So, there is only one option left. Get the hell out of here! To which Garfield does! As he's running away, he ducks into an old abandoned building, as the gang of cats keep running in a straight line. Phew! Garfield is safe for now, hey? And, this building, hey? Something about this building seems really familiar to Garfield. Kind of the look of it, the smell of it, somehow. It's like a place where everyone would know your name. And on top of that, this random lady cat walks up to Garfield and calls him by his name. But, as it turns out, this cat is Garfield's mother. Holy crap, hey? What are the odds? Well, turns out pretty darn good, because as she tells Garfield, this was an old Italian restaurant, and in this building is where Garfield was born. And literally, he was born in that bed in the corner. Suddenly, all of these memories start flooding back to Garfield. How the place used to look, the human chef that cooked all the lasagna, getting the taste of lasagna for the first time and becoming horribly addicted to it. All of that, started here. Wow, this is truly a homecoming for Garfield. Even more so because Garfield meets the rest of his family that all still live in this abandoned restaurant. Like his cousin, Sly, his brother, Raoul, who is the exact opposite of Garfield, and Garfield also meets his grandfather, who gives some words of street wisdom to Garfield, like, if you want to live on the streets, you gotta learn how to catch mice to eat. You gotta learn how to fight, like other cats and stuff like that. All of this stuff, Garfield, as he puts on a pretty brave face, but absolutely does not want any part of. But, well, sadly, for the fighting, he has no choice. Because the cat gang that was looking for him earlier, this gang known as the Claws, well, they eventually found Garfield in this building. And they tell Garfield's family, you either give up the fat cat, or we will take him by force. And, well, Garfield's family, even though they just reunited with him and they know that Garfield really can't handle himself in situations like this, they decide to fight. Defend the honor of their family. Therefore, it's on. Cat Rumble! And man, these cats are fighting like crazy. Holy crap, actually a really good rumble. It's pretty much exactly like when Team Canada and the Soviet Union had that bench-clearing brawl during the 1987 World Junior Hockey Championships. It was mayhem! Seriously, go check out that video, man. It was totally awesome. But in the end, Garfield and his family win the fight. But without any help from Garfield, right? Because he did nothing in this fight, except for bring the fight to his family's doorstep. Garfield is lazy. He's a scaredy cat. He can't handle this. And Garfield's family realizes this. They're like, man, you really can't stay here, man. You will be eaten alive from the streets. And Garfield's mom really tells him, man, you're so lucky. You have a house to live in. You have a human that's basically your butler. That's the life you're made for, and it's so much more safe and secure for you to do that. So, we love you, but get the hell out of here. And so, Garfield leaves, alone, out on the open streets, where that cat gang, the Claws, just fought to get his furry butt. Well, now he's completely exposed out in the open, and they can just get him, right? But, they don't, so that's nice. That's really nice. Luckily, randomly also, Garfield sees John driving up and down the neighborhood, presumably looking for him. So Garfield gives chase. But, as we know, Garfield and running don't go hand in hand. So Garfield passes out from exhaustion after, maybe a block. But thankfully, Odie's seen Garfield, and he tells John to turn around. So the day is saved! Hooray! Garfield is reunited with John and Odie, he gets a pan of lasagna, and he gets to go back home to his nice warm bed. So all is good. And with that, that is the end of this Kitty Cat Tale!
Man, hey, wow, that was fantastic! It's always awesome to see the humor that Garfield has and all the trouble that he can get into, but when you have a special like this that has a whole bunch of heart behind it, oh, so good! And it still has all of that zany comedy in it too as well, right? So it's like the best of both worlds. Reading all these Garfield comic strips and all the books on the comic strips and stuff like that, you really do get to love the character, but after a while, you do start to kind of question, what's his story before he was adopted by John, The more you care about a character, the more you want to learn about them. And you get quite a chunk of Garfield's backstory with this. It all makes sense why he loves lasagna so much. It wasn't actually John's fault, for feeding him the stuff. That's what the cat craved. And also, you know, like the restaurant and, well, actually the whole neighborhood that the restaurant is in, like, holy crap, what happened to that neighborhood? Every building is boarded up, you know, things are dilapidated. Like, what the heck happened? What city is this in, right? It's bad enough that Garfield's in that dangerous area, you know, a place he shouldn't be in, but then John driving around there nonchalantly looking for a cat, like, John, you shouldn't be in that area either. But that was just one unanswered question in this episode with that neighborhood. The rest of it though, man, mwah, chef's kiss. That's the thing I love about these Garfield specials, right? It's like something different, something more than you would see from the comic strips and stuff, you know? So good. So if you haven't seen this special, I suggest you do because, man, it's fantastic. Also, after watching the special and seeing Garfield reunited with his mom and, like, his family, maybe, you know, you should call your parents after this, you know, if you haven't talked to them in a while, or your grandparents, or somebody you haven't seen, you know, because it just kind of brings back a whole lot of lovey-dovey feelings. But with that, we do have some more behind-the-scenes kind of things with Dr. Wilson, with Garfield's family, and all that kind of stuff going on over here.
So yes indeed, hey, the second Garfield TV special, and a fantastic one at that. So fantastic that it wound up winning a Daytime Emmy. So this one had quite a bit going on to it, right? It was written by Garfield creator Jim Davies and Garfield voice actor Lorenzo Music. And together they have told quite a tale of Garfield's past, which I guess, you know, kind of manifested in the present. Yay! And a special that still has awesome music by Lou Rawls and Desiree Goyette. So good! Also, for another big name that was attached to this would be George Wendt, who did the voice work for Garfield's brother, Raoul. But let us take a quick look at some of the characters that we've seen for the first time in cartoon form. First off would be quite the Garfield mainstay with Dr. Liz Wilson. So, Dr. Wilson first appeared in the Garfield comic strips on June 26, 1979, where she is a no-nonsense veterinarian with a really dry, sarcastic sense of humor and doesn't exactly have the best bedside manner when it comes to humans, but when it comes to animals, she is second to none in veterinarian care. She was also the love interest for John Arbuckle. And try as John did to try to get a date with her, sometimes successfully, most of the time no, she was never really that interested. But eventually, in 2006, she did admit that she does have feelings for John, and they've been dating ever since. But that is quite a way down the road from this cartoon, and even in the special, she just had a quick little cameo. So they kind of showcased her personality as they did, and pretty much that was it. So now let us take a quick look at Garfield's family. And this family first appeared in this TV special. So with Garfield's family, even though they show quite a lot of his family members, we only meet 4 of them. Most predominantly his mother, named Sonia, and you can see where Garfield gets his stripes from. I think the interesting thing with the design of this character is, like, say with Garfield, he has more humanized kind of hands, whereas with Sonia, she still has cat paws. Not really much for gripping, more so for mousing, as she does. We also meet Garfield's grandfather, a furry, militant, no-nonsense cat who definitely knows how to survive these mean streets and definitely knows that Garfield doesn't have a chance. For the other cats, we do meet Garfield's brother, Raoul, who has definitely seen his fair share of rough days. Holy jeez! It's like this cat's been around the catnip just a little too much, hey? And finally, we meet Garfield's cousin, Sly, who is on guard duty. Also, If you're thinking, hey, there's Garfield's grandfather and mother, where's his dad? Well, they did briefly mention that Garfield's dad and his uncles do stop by the old restaurant once in a while, and they're just not there right now. As Garfield's grandfather says, those cats are definitely bachelor cats, and they just go oot and a boot whenever they want, they come back whenever they need, and you see them once in a while. And for Garfield's dad, the first time we actually see him, or any kind of version of him, would be in the 2004 movie, The Garfield Movie, where we meet his larger-than-life father, Vic. This version is a different continuity than these TV specials, so he may or may not look like this in the regular Garfield canon. Even though these cat characters first appeared in this featured special, they did eventually make it into the comic strips. This story was loosely translated for the comic strips, and that started in December of 1984. And as per usual with all Garfield specials, it was turned into a book, with the book having a bit more of a story to it. And so as I was questioning earlier, like, which city does this take place in? Like, what happened to downtown? Well, it has always been believed that Garfield lives in the state of Indiana, seeing as that is the birth state of Jim Davies, who was born in Fairmount, Indiana. And Garfield's home city is presumably based off of that or one of these suburbs. So, Dr. Wilson, being a reoccurring character in the comic strips, has also been a reoccurring character in these specials, and we will see quite a bit of her one way or the other. As for Garfield's family, well, we don't really get to see them a whole lot. We see Garfield's mom in one more Garfield special with Garfield and His 9 Lives. We see her in the strips hither and thither, but again, not a whole lot. Which is kinda sad. She looks like such a loving cat, you know, I'd kinda wanna see more of her. But cats do as cats do. When they leave their parents, you know, they're gone for good, basically. So that's pretty much all I have for this special. There will be quite a few more, and of course, all the Garfield cartoons and movies. So we'll start talking about those stuff when we get to them. But for this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's it. Also, if you're interested, I created my own comic book channel, 215 Comics. And currently, I have created my own cartoon series, The Adventures of the Density. And recently started a radio series featuring my newest character, Elastomorph, with more titles to come. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link up top here to that channel and some links at the end of the video. Yeah! Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.